Hi, I'm Gary from AA Mediation Center. Separating with children is a unique challenge. One of the reasons it's a unique challenge is because of the emotional sort of turmoil associated with separating. Everyone I've ever met who's going through what you're going through falls on a continuum of fear, essentially. You know, at one end, so worst case, I'm going to lose my kids, or I'm going to be destitute. On the other end is I'm going to make a mistake out of ignorance. I don't know what I'm doing. Or I'm going to get manipulated into something that's not in my interest. So everybody's in there. Going to lose something, going to get manipulated. That has another consequence I want to talk to you about. It has to do with interaction and decision making. We know that kids do best when parents separate, when they can cooperate. Well, you have control over whether cooperation doesn't happen, but you don't have control over whether it does happen, because that takes two. But what you can do is you can try to create an environment where if cooperation will happen or can happen, it will. But in order to do that, you have to be patient. Cooperation is so valuable, it's worth waiting for. And you have to be persistent. So in order to get decisions made, which need to happen, it's also important that you not be pushy. Pushy is, trying to get an outcome. It's quite natural for us when we're trying to get somebody to do something, is we're trying to talk them into it. So we give an explanation for why something should happen. Well, because of this, that doesn't work. The other person experiences it as pressure, and they usually stop listening. Well, we try to talk somebody into it. If it's really important to us, we add emotion to our rationale, explain why it's so important, right? Well, you just increase the pressure when you did that. It also feels manipulative when somebody does that, when they're talking to us. So that further made it more difficult or less useful to use that strategy. And the other thing we do, and all this is quite natural, is, told them how important it was. That didn't work. We explained why it was a good idea, what we're trying to get them to do, and they still didn't do it. So we make threats. If you don't do this, this is going to happen. Well, what I just described is an escalation of pressure in terms of how the other person is going to experience that kind of behavior. And I'm saying you don't want to do any of that. What you want to do instead is because you need to bring ideas. If you're going to get to a decision, you need to bring ideas to the conversation. But you want to talk about them in a way that doesn't apply pressure. So let me give you an example. This is you talking. I was thinking about X issue. And what I was thinking, and what I'm comfortable with, if this works for you, is Y. Well, you owned it. You asked, acknowledged that they have a choice, and you shared the idea. You put it out there without pressure. That's what I'm talking about. Another thing that comes up often when we're trying to figure out how to do something is we get information from other people. And if you're trying to convince someone to do something, bringing somebody else, other person's idea into the conversation is another way to apply pressure to try to get an outcome. Well, you can still do that. You just want to do it in a way that doesn't feel like pressure to the other person. So, again, as an example, you could say, my lawyer said, describe X as a way to try to deal with, Y issue. What do you think? Sounded good to me? I'd be open to that if you are. That kind of interaction doesn't apply pressure.